Not much going on here, is there? Or is there? Actually, though it may not look like it, these fields of flowers are among the busiest places on Earth, booming with almost non-stop activity, energy, and work. So why don't we see more happening? The answer is really quite simple. You see, the tremendous amount of work that occurs in every living plant happens very, very slowly. Too slowly, in fact, for us to appreciate with our own powers of observation. But with the help of a special camera, we can compress time to see things as we've never seen them before. Complicated electronic equipment allows us to speed up the appearance of actions that can take hours, days, or even weeks to occur. It's what we call time-lapse photography, and we'll use it now to reveal some amazing aspects of God's creation. Within a field of poppies, a lot of work is being done. Let's use the time-lapse camera to compress 4 full days and nights in the life of a single poppy plant into less than half a minute on the screen. On the morning of the first day, the poppies spring open. Then late in the afternoon, they close. The next morning, they open again, and at night they close. The third morning they open, and at night they close. Then on the fourth morning, the flowers struggle open, wither, and fade. You might think it's the wind blowing the leaves of this daffodil back and forth. But these pictures were taken in a laboratory, and there's no wind there. The leaves you see grow first on one side, then on the other, giving them this swaying motion. But of course, it takes the time-lapse camera to record it. It's much too slow for the eye alone to catch. The struggle to open for this bird of paradise is an example of the force involved in plant growth. It's the same kind of force that enables growing roots to lift a sidewalk or crack the cement curbing of a street. The ruffled blossom of the azalea opens slowly and carefully, revealing the beauty that comes only from the hand of God. Sometimes it takes a camellia bud months to open, but here you see it bloom in just 18 seconds. Time compressed 50,000 times. Each flower is a unique and special creation, possessing its own tempo of growth. Plants don't grow all the time. They grow a while, then they rest. In this rose, for example, there's a period of growth, followed by a period of rest. Then another period of growth, and a period of rest. But plants are working at something far more vital than beauty. You see, they produce directly or indirectly every bit of food we eat. Remember the first time you decided to raise food? You planted the seeds and covered them so carefully. And you probably expected the plants to pop up out of the ground like this. But somehow it didn't quite work out that way. You got to wondering, perhaps those seeds were planted upside down. Is there a right and a wrong end to a seed? If we open a bean seed, we find the embryonic root points in a definite direction. This determines the initial direction of growth. So it is possible to plant a seed upside down, but don't worry, the root always grows toward the pull of gravity and away from the sunlight. Even if we try to fool the growing seed, it doesn't get mixed up. The root reverses its direction and continues to grow downward. We've watched what roots do underground. Now let's try another seed and observe the plant at work above the soil. Within a few days, the stem of the new bean plant forces its way through the hard-packed ground and struggles upward. The bean is used in this experiment because it's one of the plants that brings the food-storing parts of the seed up above the ground. As the plant develops, its tip circles about, seeking support for its upward climb. Place a stick nearby, and the plant exhibits an uncanny instinct for direction, soon coiling itself around and around. The purpose of this struggle is to place the leaves in the sunlight where they can manufacture food. But if the light cannot be found by growing upward, the shoot will grow in any direction to reach it, even if it has to detour through a small hole to get there. Every leaf on a plant is a food factory. Within its cells, the energy of sunlight is captured through a wonderful process called photosynthesis. Let's look down inside the cells of the leaf to see this factory in operation. The dark green chlorophyll grains move endlessly throughout the cells. In some mysterious way, God has designed the leaf to take in sunlight, air, and water, combining them for the production of all the food the plant will need. Part of this food is used as energy for the constant activity of living. Some of it is stored in the seed. When planted under favorable conditions, the fabulous energy of life is released, and another generation of bean plants shoot upward away from the gravity of the earth and toward the sunlight above. This is the principle that causes a tree to defy the law of gravity and reach high into the air. The forces at work within a single redwood giant are almost beyond our comprehension. This tree was 2,000 years old when Christ was born. For nearly 4,000 years, it has been lifting tons of water each day to its top. Through even the few examples that we've considered, it is obvious that the plant world is the handiwork of a master designer, a craftsman concerned with every detail of his creation. Think about it. Seeds that burst forth with new life. Roots that grow in the right direction. Stems that function as ingenious waterways while lifting leaves above the earth to assist them in their struggle for a place in the sun. Yes, every leaf and flower, every seed and tree are masterpieces of the highest purpose and design. And when we study them closely, we can clearly see the touch of God's hand, providing beauty, food, and life itself to the planet He has made. Almost 400 years ago, in a little Dutch village, man's search for knowledge revealed an amazing universe of little things. In Middelburg, Zacharias Jansen, the village optician, gave to the world the microscope, an instrument that would open doors to things too small for the eye alone to see. It doesn't seem possible that nearly 100 years could have passed after the invention of the microscope before someone thought of looking inside a drop of water. After all, what could there be in water but water itself? Today's microscope is much more advanced than the early handmade instrument. But just imagine how Antony Leeuwenhoek must have felt when he first looked into a drop of water and realized he had discovered a whole new world. Tiny plants and animals that from the beginning of time had lived, reproduced, and died, completely unknown to anyone but the God who had created them. Leeuwenhoek called them tiny beasties. More of them in a drop of water than people in the land where he lived. God made many of these creatures with just one cell. Imagine a single cell that moves around, finds food, and reproduces. One tiny cell with all the mystery of life. As the microscope was made more powerful, man took a closer look and saw some strange things. An animal with wheels? No, but the looks of this fellow have earned him the appropriate name of rotifer. Just looking through a microscope is a lot of fun. It's like having a front row seat in a water circus. These acrobats are called water fleas. And this is an amoeba, ghost of the microscopic world. One cell that expands in the direction it wishes to go and then flows its eerie way through life. Science has yet to learn how it controls the rate and direction of its flow. But we do know that the amoeba moves away from strong light, avoids harmful chemicals, and seeks out food. After several days of life, one amoeba becomes two by simply dividing. This takes about 30 minutes. After watching it for a while, one might say that the amoeba never dies. But what is an amoeba? Actually, it's protoplasm. Can you remember that? Protoplasm, a term scientists use to describe the stuff that cells are made of. The volvox is actually more than one animal. Each dot on the surface of every ball is a separate living thing. How are the dots held in place? Remember the word? Protoplasm. To the eye, it's invisible, but it's always there, holding the ball together. They're hard to see, but each little dot, each animal, has two tiny whip-like limbs on its sides that help it move around. They're called flagella, and they work like oars on a boat. The balls can move about, stop, turn quickly, or even change direction. Volvox raise their young inside the ball. The young volvox group tightly together, and when they are fully developed, it's time to leave the parent colony. They simply turn inside out, expand, and then swim off to repeat the cycle. The paramecium is an animal made up of just one cell. For years it was thought to be very, very simple. But now we know that in many ways the paramecium is more complex than man himself. In man there are two sexes, male and female. Among paramecia, there are more than 20 different mating types. Under ideal conditions, some forms of paramecia reproduce every 3 hours. But the tiny didinium is one reason this process doesn't just go on and on. You see, these little fellows eat paramecia. Think of it. Each didinium will eat at least 6 whole paramecia every day. The balance of life in a water drop aquarium. Do you know what would happen if the reproduction of just one paramecium went on and on with nothing to stop it? In 5 years, there would be enough of these creatures to solidly pack all known space. That's life in a drop of water. But stop and think. There are 117,000 drops of water in a gallon. 1,100,000,000,000 gallons in a cubic mile. And there are 400 million cubic miles of water on the Earth. To explore the extent of life in saltwater, scientists have constructed floating laboratories. Some of them actually seagoing classrooms where students can join in the search. Most of us are likely to think of saltwater as a place of familiar shapes and sizes. Familiar? Yes, but there are lots of unfamiliar things down here too. All that's needed to gather a harvest of tiny plants and animals is the web of a plankton net. The net strains the water to capture whatever there might be to study. Then the microscope reveals an amazing variety of life. Among other things, we find flatworms, hollow-bodied medusa, segmented worms, and protozoa in glass houses. This little protozoan seems to be practicing a juggling act. He lives in a hollow tube. Whenever he decides to go someplace, he can work his way to the end of the tube, start his outboard motor, and swim off, glass house and all. Even the microscopic world has its comedians. And these polychaete larvae are just about as funny as they come. The floor of the ocean is a museum of the microscopic world. Here, countless numbers of plants and animals have lived and died, leaving a record of their existence in black, slimy mud. The microscope reveals that the mud is made up almost entirely of very small but beautiful particles. One plant, the diatom, builds its house of silica. Tiny houses of natural glass, so small and so perfect, they are used to test the quality of high-power microscope lenses. There are more than 10,000 varieties of diatoms, and each builds following a pattern different from any other. These are living diatoms, free, moving plants found in fresh or salt water. But in the ocean, their numbers are staggering. Believe it or not, this 100-foot cliff is composed almost entirely of diatoms. The area was once covered by an inlet from the sea. When the plants died, their houses sank to the bottom, leaving a deposit of almost solid diatoms 5 miles square and 1,400 feet deep. This deposit makes it easy to mine diatomaceous earth, and diatoms have properties which make them quite valuable. For one thing, they're used in making bricks which have amazing properties of insulation. Because diatoms are very hard and very small, they're also used in high-quality polishes and cleaning materials, in paints, plastics, papers, insecticides. Many beverages and foods are purified by filters made of diatoms. And even filters for swimming pools use diatomaceous earth. Yes, the tiny diatom plays a big role in our lives, but perhaps its greatest significance can be found beyond its everyday usefulness to man. In one thimbleful of this diatomaceous earth, there are more than 14 million diatoms. How many diatoms in one scoop of a power shovel? If we tried to count them, numbers would lose all meaning. And remember, every one of them was once a living thing, an object of the Creator's care. Now just think for a moment about what that really means. If God is concerned about living things as small as these, if He is willing to provide for their every need, then how much greater must be His care and concern for you and me. Has anyone ever told you he was busy as a bee? If so, then stand back and give him plenty of room, for there probably isn't a living thing with more to do than that hard-working little creature we see flying around from flower to flower. Yes, the honeybee never seems to get a vacation. Its life is filled with a variety of different chores and jobs, each important to the welfare of the bee community. Jobs that God, the great Creator, has prepared and equipped it to perform perfectly throughout its lifetime. For the next few minutes, let's shrink ourselves down to the size of a honeybee and take a first-hand look at what really goes on inside a hive. This tiny egg marks the beginning of a honeybee's life. After about 3 days, it hatches, and these baby bees, or larvae, are given a drop of bee milk every 4 or 5 minutes by a team of nurses who work tirelessly around the clock, feeding and caring for the young. When the baby bees are 3 days old, the nurses will change their formula from milk to a mixture of honey and water called nectar. Up to now, each larva has spent its short life within a tiny compartment called a cell. Here it grows and awaits the most important event of its life, the marvelous transformation that will change it from a helpless little grub to a 6-legged, winged insect. When the change from larva to adult is complete, the young bee chews its way out of the cell and into the world. Since it hasn't eaten in nearly 12 days, it gladly accepts a drop of bee milk from a nurse. Then, anxious to begin the many jobs that need to be done, the bee cleans itself up while its wings dry and harden. Its first official job is cleaning out cells. This is hard work, so the bee grabs a snack, a little honey for energy, and some pollen to help build strong flight muscles. Cell detail lasts for about 3 days. After that, the bee is assigned to nursery duty, feeding and caring for the larvae along with the other nurses in the hive. Following a week or two as a nurse, the bee changes jobs and becomes a member of the hive's construction crew. God has given this little worker the right tools and abilities to build one of nature's most remarkable substances, honeycomb. In the hive, honeycomb is used both as baby cribs and storage bins for pollen and honey. To make it, the bees first stuff themselves with food, then cling together for a full day. As they hang, 8 glands under their stomachs produce tiny flakes of wax. The bees will later chew these wax flakes into the proper shape and form them into walls of honeycomb. Comb building lasts for about 5 days. When the worker has completed its share of the task, it moves on to a series of odd jobs like carrying out the garbage, or standing guard over the hive. Bees are very careful about who enters their city. Any unwelcome guests are viewed as enemies and are vigorously attacked. In addition to these responsibilities, the worker bee must also act as part of the hive's air conditioning system. This job is crucial, for if the weather outside gets too hot, the temperature inside the hive will rise, causing the larvae to die. As a safeguard, some bees are sent out to collect water that will be spread throughout the hive, while other bees stand in the doorway, fanning their wings to create a breeze. This ingenious system causes the water to evaporate, keeping the hive cool. Cold weather can also kill the larvae. For protection, adult bees stuff themselves with honey, then crowd together around the comb, forming a living blanket over the baby bees. The worker's final job is collecting food. And once again, God has prepared it for the task. First, a few scouts are sent out to locate worthwhile amounts of food. Later, they will return to the hive to tell other collectors the direction and distance to travel. To better understand how this all works, let's put out a saucer of sugar water. First, the scout finds the food. Then when it returns to the hive, it performs a dance of wiggles and buzzes, telling the others exactly where food can be located. A short time later, our saucer is filled with bees. Sort of a funny way to communicate, isn't it? Buzzing and wiggling back and forth. But the bees understand this language perfectly, and it works, time and time again, with amazing accuracy. A worker will collect food until reaching the ripe old age of 5 or 6 weeks. Then literally worked to death, it rolls over and dies. Now, there are 2 other kinds of honeybees that we haven't yet considered, and like the others, they are vital members of the hive. Let's first take a look at the queen. While there are many thousands of workers in a bee community, the queen stands alone. If anything happens to her, a successor must be produced immediately. To do this, the nurse bees choose several young larvae and make their cells larger than the rest. These select young are fed nothing but pure bee milk during their entire development. In the end, all of this food produces a queen bee instead of a worker. When she hatches, Her Highness begins her one and only job in the hive, the laying of eggs. How effective is she? Well, believe it or not, in one day a queen can lay nearly 1,000 eggs. Another important member of the bee community is the drone. Drones are male bees, and usually only a few hundred will live in the hive. Their lives span the spring and summer months when they are needed to father a new generation of bees. You can identify the drones by their big eyes and large wings, special equipment necessary to follow, catch, and mate with the queen. The more you look, the more you realize that bees are fascinating creatures. But have you ever wondered how they learned to do so many different things? No one taught them about air conditioning or hive construction. They didn't go to school to learn how to communicate. No, the bee community flourishes because God created each of its members with special knowledge and abilities. He gave them everything they needed to survive. You know, as we consider the bee, it's exciting to realize that the same God who made them also made you and me. He gave us everything we would need to enjoy our lives on this earth. But He didn't just stop with our physical needs. For unlike the honeybee or any other living thing, God loved us enough to give us His greatest gift of all. Almost 2,000 years ago, He sent His Son, Jesus Christ, to die on a cross for our sins, so that we each might have the opportunity to know our Creator's care and forgiveness, and one day live with Him in His heavenly kingdom forever.